Gotta
Good
look.
morning, everyone. My name is Jim McGeel. I'm the Vice President of Sales at SalesChain, and I want to thank you very much for taking time to join us today to learn about stop leaving money on the table. But before we get started, I want to take time to introduce everybody that's going to be presenting today. Obviously, I've introduced myself. I'd like to introduce Matt Szczygiel. Matt is the second generation owner of SalesChain. We've been around for 25 years and are one of the leaders in the office technology space. And I'd also like to introduce Marc Spring. He's the president and founder of Evolved Office. So without further ado, let's get moving. So you're probably asking yourself, why does this webinar matter? And what we've ascertained is dealers are losing revenue. You know, when sales and marketing are sort of working opposite each other, they live in disjointed silos. They're missing lease renewals. They're not getting the upsells that they want. And it's really inefficient outreach. You know, if we're just slamming, spamming our prospects, it really isn't efficient. So that's where we think we can bring a solution to our dealer partners. So why SalesChain? Why Evolved Office? Marc, tell us from your perspective, why, from a vendor, why this makes sense.
Well, I mean, Tim and I, who runs SalesChain, go back a long way and had met over the years several times at iTech shows. And, we discussed how our platforms really can work together. And, we started to talk about building out a tool. And, Tim's, message to me was, I want to build out the best integration possible. And we shared this like common belief that we needed to help dealers streamline their operations and help them grow revenue by being able to pivot off of their data. And that's what we do. We kind of eliminate, your data just being in a silo where you got information over here and your marketing here. And we marry those pieces together. So that when barriers come down, you get a better connected stack. So the partnership we developed was really all about, improvement, with dealer success being really the number one priority. So the big thing to know about what we do that separates us from others is it's a true dealer first collaboration. We, built this thing with dealers in mind.
Great idea. And from my perspective, for those of you who don't know, I spent over 20 years as an independent dealer. So, spending 10 years in the CRM CPQ space, but prior to that, 20 plus years as an independent. And some of the things I like to look at as a dealer is offense and defense. Defense, protecting your lease base, flagging excessive service calls so that your reps are informed, your dealership is informed, and you can take a proactive approach to protecting those accounts. And then also, leading a sales organization, focused outreach, with the ability to target the high profile accounts based upon, if we're doing a campaign, who opened it, who forwarded it, who, replied to it. So make sure that your reps are calling on those high profile opportunities, not just, as I said before, slam and spam.
I think those are great perspectives, and the ability to utilize that opening data, Jim, that Marc has brought to the table, and all of that information from Evolved Office, and combine it with some of the data in SalesChain, I think is what makes this integration so powerful. Marc, when Tim came to you and said, if we're going to integrate, I want it to be the best integration possible in the space. All of that came down to the quality of data. I run the marketing team here at SalesChain, and I think all the time about how we're going to reach dealers with the appropriate message at the right time.
With the wrong
tools. Being able to
tools, right?
keep with the right tools, right? And so trying to make sure that we use all the data we have at hand to craft the right message and to reach people at the right time needs real-time information. And so the first component of the integration as we built it out was making sure that this sync is real-time. Any information that's updated and evolved is accessible in SalesChain right away, and vice versa. So when changes happen, we can make sure that those changes are tracked and we can act on them appropriately. One-click marketing, we ended up making the entire Evolved Office platform available within SalesChain's CRM. You don't have to click into multiple tools. You don't have to transition from window to window. You're able to pass that information back and forth easily, yes, but not have to click off of different screens to do so. And I think that seamlessness is a really strong component of the way that we built this integration too. Intelligent notifications, being able to pivot off of that data, not only by reading it in a spreadsheet and seeing the reports and looking at pretty charts, but then using it to notify your reps at the appropriate time. Once a certain amount of activity has been done by that particular prospect or customer of that dealership, and then to assign an activity to the appropriate sales rep is crucial, because otherwise balls are going to get dropped, opportunities are going to get missed. So being able to notify reps, create activities automatically in the CRM is crucial, and making sure that that happens in a custom manner, because I think one thing that Evolved has over any other tool in the space is a really great ability to configure that messaging and a whole library of content that people can pivot off of. So different dealers are going to want to do different things with different cadences in that messaging. And we'll show a little bit as we drive through the tool itself what some of that notification creation and workflow creation looks like. And accelerating marketing and sales opportunities. Really looking at all of this. Why does it matter? To me, as somebody running a team like this, it means more efficiency. It means not having to write emails just to get one notification sent out to an individual. It means less work on my people and enabling all of my sales reps to play offense and defense without burdening my staff. We're going to go through two examples of how this works today. And to be honest with you, a lot of this sounds like marketing fluff, but these are real things that folks use every day, and automation that we've built out with the opportunity and with the goal of making marketing and sales really easy for your dealership when they're using SalesChain and Evolved Office together. The thing that I look at more than anything else from the SalesChain perspective is the quality of data, because marketing lists get stale, information changes, and when you look at purchasing lists online, when you look at trying to find the right people, it's just not trustworthy data. There's one source of truth in any given dealership that works with us, and that's going to be the ERP system. So being able to pivot off of real customer data to find, as Jim said, some of those gaps where dealers are missing revenue, some opportunities where there might be upsell, cross-sell, chances for us to help our customer more. Those are going to be opportunities that are fed with real customer data from eAutomate, which, as anybody who's familiar with our platform knows, is updated on a nightly basis. And pivoting off of real-time leasing integrations with all of the major providers in the space. So anybody who's looking for the appropriate lease expiration campaign to run, know that we're pulling that data in through an API on a nightly basis. This is no longer a manual process where folks will have to update and forward a spreadsheet. This is stuff that's happening in real time. The system is doing it automatically, and we can use that information to then notify reps appropriately on lease expirations. Let's take a look at this more practically within the system itself. We're going to create two different campaigns, and we'll assign those to journeys within Evolved Office. And those campaigns are going to be created using some data in SalesChain. Now, we're going to use two examples today. Both of these would qualify as Jim's defensive strategies, right? The ability to make sure that we're using our customer data to maximize the revenue that we're able to make with them and to give them the best solution at the best time. But I think you can let your imagination run wild a little bit and think that any of the advanced searching in SalesChain, any of the information that we pull from sales activity, from your ERP system, from your lease portfolio, from Evolved Office, clicks and data and scores, can be utilized to make campaigns very easily. And this 5-step method will let you create those campaigns, assign those journeys really easily. So I'm going to give you two examples, but I invite you to think as we go through the demonstration today, what might me and my dealership create when we use Evolved Office? So this 5-step process starts in SalesChain. We're going to perform one of our advanced searches. We're going to look up some ERP data, and we're going to look up some lease integration data to create two campaigns. That campaign is going to be pivoted off of a group and then we'll use that email campaign to assign it to a journey in Evolved Office. And that journey is going to be the drip in which all of the different emailing and all of the activity from a marketing perspective is going to happen. We'll look at the information and some of the assets that have been created in Evolved Office. We kind of cooking showed this one for you all who are looking and watching for us today. We're not going to create some of that live. We've got a beautifully baked pie that we'll look at the end to make sure that we don't spend too much time clicking through the system. So with that 5-step process, we'll show you how this looks. Let's jump into the system. Before I do, Jim, Marc, anything you guys would add to what I've said? I want to make sure you guys have an opportunity to ping pong anything that I missed.
No, I think you summarized it very well.
Yeah, I think you're headed down the right path. I think it's, looking at how data creates these automations and takes it, just dealers to think about, how do I take that off my head so I know that this is happening and I don't have to monitor it?
That's right. All right, so let's jump into the system. I'm logged in here to a demo system as Marc Spring.
Lucky you.
In SalesChain, I have a number of different advanced searches that I'm going to be able to perform. I can, of course, search for things like city, state, zip code, basic customer information, or prospect information if I wanted to utilize simpler information to create a campaign. But let's do something a little bit more adventurous. I'm going to pop into advanced search and then click on asset contract lease. This is going to be using some of that customer information. I go back a slide or two here that we get from our leasing companies. And we get from our eAutomate sync, which includes customers and contract items, to give me some of this relevant data right within my CRM. So let's search for anybody over the course of the last few years who is doing 3 or more service calls on a 1-month average. So we've got 39 of these accounts who are calling our service department all the time. Jim, from a dealer perspective, what kind of flag does this represent to you when you see this situation?
Well, I think it's a big red flag because, historically, we were not proactive in reaching out to customers with excessive service calls. It was a very manual process. Typically, we only learned about it when the customer called us. So that was
so let's
crazy.
be proactive about this. I can then take an action on these 39 accounts. I'll make sure to select them here. Go to actions, and I'm going to create an evolved campaign. Now, campaigns and evolved are sort of my lists from which everything is going to be pivoted off of, and all of my marketing material is going to be created. If I want to add this search to an existing campaign and update that list, I can select that campaign here from my dropdown, or I can create a new list here and create a new campaign for my 3 or more service calls per month. I can select or deselect specific names, and with our primary contacts feature within SalesChain, if I only want to include folks marked as IT contacts, folks marked as leasing contacts, decision makers, etc., I can do so here. And I'll click Create Campaign, and that's going to create that list within Evolved Office. We'll visit that later. Over here in Advanced Search, I also have the ability to search some of that leasing data. So let's create a second campaign quickly here. Under Asset Contract Lease, I'll perform a different search here at the top and show any of my leases expiring in the next, let's call it 18 months. At this point, I'll click Search. I've got a much larger list of 402 accounts here. We've got some work to do. So I'll check my boxes, click Create Evolve Campaign, and just like before, I'm able to add all of these contacts to an existing campaign should I have this 18-month end of lease campaign already. Marc, anything you would add to the creation of those campaigns?
No, I mean, you're going to create those in Evolved Office before you create those lists. So the first thing you'll do is create your content and make sure all that's ready. And then, once you've got your journey set up, once those campaigns once you click send, your customers are getting content. They're getting that first level of the drip you set them up in.
Exactly.
And Marc,
something that I think is
indicate that the content is there. You guys have created the content.
Yeah. You don't have to create any of the content. We've got content across all disciplines, whether it's any of the products you sell and all of the service side content as well. So you're able to use what we've created and then retool it for your own brand.
What I think is really exciting too is this is an integration we're continuing to build out and invest in and add new features to. So we recently received feedback that we wanted to have customers be able to more easily view and edit their campaigns. So we've added an entirely new desk within SalesChain, and we've continued to invest in new features and new opportunities for dealers to use different components of this just a little bit more easily as we have more folks using both our platforms. So jumping into Evolved Office itself, if I'm a user who's going to use Evolved Office all the time, I'm able to pop it right up to my SalesChain favorites in these dark blue icons at the top. And Marc, tell us a little bit about the points and categories that we see here.
Yeah. So this is typical office equipment dealer categories. You can have your own. These are the ones that, are in our test database, right? So if you go down, you see we track every open and every click, download. If they watch a video, anything that they're interacting with your content, we're tracking it. We're giving it a score. We're also tying that click up, if you scroll up, to all these categories. So if I wanted to go in and say, who's interested in my managed print, I could just click on that managed print icon. And then there's all the people below that are interested. Now, if I want to know a little bit more about that first person there who seems really interested, they got 47 points. If I click on them, you will get the detail of that person and everything that they have clicked on.
There we go. That was me.
That person overall, and now you can see everything that they're engaging with. So so it gives you everything right at the contact level. So you know how to go into the conversation.
Absolutely. And what I think is really cool and what we can show a little bit later is that we can then pivot off of these points. Yep. And if somebody reaches a full 500 score, or if somebody reaches a score that indicates to me enough interest, then we can start using that to do that intelligent series of notifications, right?
The points
we can use those notifications to put tasks on people's to-do lists, to assign accounts.
And that was a big thing with when we created this, everybody would say, well, okay, it's great. Who's going to sit here and manage these leads as they come in and distribute them? That's a whole job by itself. So working with you guys, we created a really nice workflow backend where you can create and assign based off of this point system. You can create different tasks and to-dos inside of SalesChain, and very cool stuff. Take that off your plate.
I think so too. I like that automation a lot, and it's something that notably Evolved Office is doing at a much more affordable rate than competition. I was super impressed, Marc, when I saw everything that you guys are doing there.
Thank you.
We've created our campaigns, which are our intelligent lists here. Now I can, in Evolved Office, go to email, journeys, and this is where we're going to configure our drip campaigns and all of the content within it. So if I take a look at our drafts here, I can see we've got quite a few that we're working on. And within active journeys here, we've got our multiple service contracts campaign. So this is going to be the group that we've assigned. I can click on edit here, and that's going to bring me into a view of what this drip campaign looks like. We can see our entry point is going to be starting this campaign with anybody who's within that contact list that we created earlier. From that, we're going to start with an email from the service manager. And I love this approach. Personally reaching out from the service manager's perspective and then using this as an opportunity to say, hey, listen, ongoing repairs are going to cost you a lot. It might actually be more efficient for you to invest in a new piece of equipment and see what kind of interest we can generate from that offer. What do y'all think about that?
And you can customize all this content. So what Evolved Office does is our job is to give you that really well-written content, that converts. But there's tools within Evolved Office that you can, and it's AI tools that you can use to repurpose the content and make it sound like it's coming from your company, your voice. So all the content's editable.
Exactly. So we see an email, then we have a delay, and then an email here will come a couple of days later as well. So we start this customer on a larger kind of marketing journey should we not see any interest immediately. What I can do here is quickly deactivate this journey. And if I want to take the list that I looked at a little bit earlier and make sure that they're included in this journey. I'll make sure this box is checked. That list that I created is included. I'll click next, double check my journey information, and activate this when I'm ready to go. And that's going to start reaching out to those contacts right away.
And you could take that list and rerun it once every week, have somebody run it, takes minutes. And then anybody who's new would be added into those journeys. So you don't have to keep recreating the wheel, right? You recreate your lookup.
Exactly. You saw how quick it was just a minute ago for me to perform 2 advanced searches and to then create that lease expiration list as well as the 3 service calls in a month list. So being able to quickly update that information, I think, is fantastic. Now, we've looked at these journeys here. Marc mentioned a little bit earlier, making sure that we have those intelligent notifications going and we have any assignments in a workflow so that when customers interact with these emails, I might assign a very high point value to an email like this to make sure that a rep is following up with their own customer. I can then tap over to our workflow profile manager. And within these, I can include specific categories, exclude categories, and I can create activities on anything from an email open to a number of points accrued. I can assign these to specific sales reps or a category of sales reps. Some folks, even on the call, who are using SalesChain have different sales rep categories where it's an IT sales rep or an imaging sales rep assigned to the same account, maybe a major account rep and somebody who's handling production print for them. So we might want to get granular like that. And those are the specific workflow items that we're able to cover as we hit those point levels or see an email that's opened. Anything you'd add to this screen, Marc?
No. I mean, it's just very, very intuitive, and you can create like multiple, workflows based on different things that you're promoting. So yeah, I mean, great tool. It's really important. Yep. And yeah,
and more than anything else,
you know what I would do is if you just go out of this and go to your schedule, click on schedule, and if you have to refresh it, but it would show all of your tasks would appear. I don't know if we've actually created any in here, but all of your tasks.
I'm not seeing any tasks for you, Marc. Are you not selling using SalesChain today?
I have nothing to do. But if you're logged in,
your tasks will appear on the left-hand side of your schedule.
And
that's
every
right.
rep will see their own. So this is broken down so people know it's broken down. When your reps log in, everybody has their own silo. They see their own tasks. They see their own content. So
absolutely. And I think something that's really important to mention here too is we're not just creating tasks and to-do items, we're also creating leads if we hit a certain higher point metric as well. So that gets us not just on the reaching out and the taking action on this workflow within the sales rep, but it also gives us the opportunity to start an opportunity for sale and make sure that that potential for revenue is reported on a forecast or on a report that the rep and the sales manager might go over on a regular basis. Now we're coming up on 6 minutes left in our time. Gentlemen, I've showed a lot here. What do you think about some of the key benefits of what we've done? What's your favorite part of this integration?
You're talking to Jim and I, right?
Yes.
The other ones with our mics turned on. I think probably one of the most important parts is the triggers between the two pieces of software and being able to know who the hot lead is, who's the hottest lead, who's got the most points. And at that level, to me, that when we look at the integration, which is what we're here to discuss, is how we work together. I think that workflow tool that we set up is really powerful.
Totally agree. Jim?
And from my perspective, the reps that I managed as a dealer, they were always interested in offense. They were always interested in getting the new sale. And what I like about this integration is it builds an automatic defense so that you're protecting your leases, you're protecting the upsells, you're protecting customers that are having service issues. To me, it creates a well-rounded solution, not just a one-sided solution.
I love that too. I think I might have spoiled my favorite part at the beginning, but the fact that this data is already there. it's in your lease portfolio, it's in your eAutomate instance, and SalesChain can act as a central area, a repository of this data, breaking down those silos, breaking that separate information and putting it into one place so that you can really get the most out of Evolved Office by using intelligent customer data. That I think is really the coolest part. It's stuff you already have. Let us help you utilize it and do more with it. We'll turn to a couple questions. We're coming up on our time here. Anybody in the chat? I know Jim is going to take a look here and see if there's any information coming in the chat and feed some questions to Marc and myself.
Just open up the chat, so fire away, gang. So, Matt, an anonymous attendee, I like that. Will this still work if my contact data isn't fresh or reliable?
Well, I think what we showed today are two more defensive instances of communication. And we're using eAutomate customer data to make sure that you're having the most up-to-date information. Your eAutomate instance is always going to be up-to-date. And so we're pivoting off of data that is fresh and reliable. When it comes to new customer data, that's going to be kind of a case-to-case basis. It'll still absolutely work.
Good deal. Another question is, beyond lease renewals, where else have you seen dealers find hidden revenue? And this would be to Marc and Matt both.
Marc, you want to take that one?
Yeah, I mean, the hidden revenue is in your upsell. I mean, what's the lowest hanging fruit you've got? So pivoting off of what your customers are using from you and being able to create these campaigns that pivot off of your data to create dynamic campaigns. I think the big thing to note here is that once you dive into Evolve, we're about building very hyper-targeted marketing. And somebody asked a question about data. One of the first things that we go through is we make sure that the data, as far as the marketing side, that is tight. Email addresses. Some people have office managers in as their primary contact. I don't think that's the primary contact today, right? It's got to be CIOs, CFOs, CEOs. So we'll help people, and I should say we. I think it's built in with SalesChain, with Zoom Info. Clean your data first. Definitely clean your data. It's hugely important.
Totally agree. And I'd like to chime in and say I love the cross-sell idea. We've got tools built to help dealers sell IT products, water products. Yep. This can be a great opportunity to use some of our collaborative profile targeting and segmentation tools to determine who might be a good fit for these different revenue opportunities and assign opportunities to the appropriate rep.
Matt, we have another question here. Are your banking API relationships an auto upload, or is this a manual process? Who are all your banking API relationships, such as Peak and Wells Fargo?
Our finance company integrations are real time. All of the information is going to be brought in from your portfolio on a nightly basis. And when it comes to applications, buyouts, upgrades, those are going to be done in real time. Currently, we have API integrations with Canon Financial Services, DeLoggerlandon, Great America, Leaf, Wells Fargo, Peak, and US Bank to pull that portfolio information in. We have relationships with other banks, and you're able to do a manual import of any other lease portfolios that you might have with other institutions as well.
Lots of good questions here. Another one is asking, what is the criteria for a service email? Are you just using straight number of calls, or are you looking into data modeling like BEI, Nexera to tell you the highest cost and oldest machines?
I can tell you the criteria we used here is going to be service calls, which are logged in eAutomate. The criteria that dictate needing an email in your dealership is going to be configured based upon how you set up your Evolved Office journey. Is that right, Marc?
Well, I think it's going to be something where they're going to have to set up the trigger from SalesChain that will tell us, hey, put this person into this journey. So it really first will trigger off of that. And we, that's where it has to come from. What I can do is we can, go ahead, Jim.
I was going to say, so I can answer the last question here that I have. Is SalesChain cloud-based? Yes, it is. 100% cloud-based, both mobile component and from your PC or laptop.
Brief throw for you there, Jim.
Thank you. I want to help you guys out. Somebody else asked, if I wanted to get started tomorrow, what's the first step I'd take to make this integration work for my dealership?
Well, we've got a couple of QR codes up here on the screen. Yep. If you want to get started with SalesChain, go ahead and get scanned on the left-hand side. The first step for us is going to be a discovery call. Yourself, Jim, or myself will get on with you for a 15-minute conversation. Just make sure we're a good fit from a tech stack perspective. And Mark?
Yeah, same thing with us. Scan our code. We'll set up a call. One of the things, if you're here and what interests you is the way that the tools work together, then I am very happy to join in with Jim and put together very specific presentations so you can fire off to us your use cases and you can see how the tools work together. But yeah, basically the same thing.
And then Matt, we have another question here. We've had issues with paperwork being sent out of SalesChain that sometimes gets blocked by the customer's email servers. Would these emails be sent the same way?
Yeah, Kevin, that can happen. That can happen with any automated email system. Totally understand. And if you have continued issues with that, please make sure you reach out to our support team. We'll get that addressed for you. These are not sent the same way. I'm sure, Mark, you can speak to where your email servers are coming from.
Yep. So, I mean, that's our job. Our job is maintaining the highest level of integrity for what are called our IPs. Well, I don't most people understand IP addresses. And so, yeah, we were very, very bullish on making sure our delivery rates are top notch. I mean, it's kind of like Burger King not having any burgers if we don't deliver messages, right?
So Kevin, feel free to reach out to our support team. We'll get that resolved for you, no problem.
Also, I think I see someone who chatted a question is the how do reps use Evolved Office? And Matt, if you could just for 1 second, so we can have this in the video to send to people, even if some people I know might be jumping off, but just go over there and go to a contact, any contact. So if a sales rep is working, is that accounts or contacts? Okay. Go to one of the contacts. Let's see there. And then click on the Evolved Office icon. This has to be one.
The plus one or the regular one?
No, the regular one.
I get it as, hang on, stand by. Get it as a pop-up here.
Yeah, as soon as it's on, you're on a demo, so when sales reps are working inside of SalesChain, they can actually see at the contact level what the contact has interacted with. So they don't have to look back and forth right there through that. And then once they see what their interest is, then you can scroll up there a little bit, Matt, and click on eShots. And they are actually seeing, and go to suggested, they're actually able to see content you share with them. So your reps can send on-brand content right through that rep window. So they'll see that evolved content. That was it. We won't dive any further into that. Just something.
Oh, and I think that's huge because content creation, something you said when we started talking about this webinar, content creation as a pair of buzzwords can start to sound like a big lift for any marketing individual. So having these templatized and having material that you can effectively have ready to send and then combine with people's brand image, I super admire.
Yeah, but I don't think, most dealers want everybody writing their own emails on introducing the company or, apologizing for something or whatever it might be. You have a way that you want to do it, and that lets you keep on brand content.
Totally.
So have we answered everybody's questions? I don't want to leave until I make sure that we got everybody's question answered. So I'll give you a second if you want to type something into the chat window.
While we're waiting for that, Jim, thank you very much for emceeing the show. I appreciate it. And thank you for Matt for the unbelievable demo. I'm going to hire you out to do my Evolved Office demos in the future. You're probably too expensive.
We'll exchange rates.
All right, guys. Thank you very much. And I'll let Jim wrap up with any others.
Well, team, I think we're good for today. Thank you for your questions. Thank you for your attendance. Feel free to reach out to myself, Matt, Mark. We're happy to discuss this further with you, and have a great rest of your day.
Cheers, everybody.